Welcome to our series on Ignatian wisdom. My name is Kevin Leidick, and I'm one of the pastoral ministers here at Jesuit Retreat Center. I want to explore a theme that we often see in scriptures, which has an impact on Ignatius and Ignatian spirituality. And that's the whole theme of poverty. In the Beatitudes, the first Beatitude in Matthew's Gospel is, "Blessed are the poor in spirit." In Luke, that is translated as, "Blessed are the poor." And oftentimes, those who are in poverty are praised. And that's an ideal for Christians. But what is meant by poverty? How are we supposed to emulate poverty or live poverty as Christians? And also in the spiritual exercises, Ignatius speaks about several different types of poverty or graces of poverty. I'd like to explore how Ignatius describes this whole virtue of poverty and how it gives some sort of enlightenment or illumination of how we are called to live poverty as Christians. Ignatius makes a distinction between poverty of spirit, actual poverty, and the effects of poverty. And the first two of these two graces, are found in the spiritual exercises. What is meant by poverty of spirit? As we say in the Beatitudes, "Blessed are the poor in spirit." A person is poor in spirit or has spiritual poverty when they recognize that God is God and that we are creatures and that our purpose, our end, is focused on God. God is the source of who we are, our purpose and our meaning. And a person acknowledges that person is spiritually poor, has poverty of spirit. And all people are called to be spiritually poor in that sense. Ignatius uses the term actual poverty, and that sometimes can be misunderstood. But actual poverty for Ignatius means the poverty of shared life, poverty of living simply, certainly, but primarily of shared life, a poverty of service. In the time of Ignatius, actual poverty, would be more of a poverty of religious life, where people share community together, share a common mission, and share their resources together. Analogously, you might say married people have a sense of actual poverty. So it's a poverty of companionship, a poverty of service, a poverty of sharing what one has with others. The third grace of poverty that Ignatius speaks about, although later on in the spiritual writings rather than the spiritual exercises, are the effects of poverty. By that he means real indigence, going without. Those are three distinct graces. And the third grace, the effects of poverty, is kind of rare. Not too many people are called to that. Let me illustrate the three graces by the life of Ignatius. Ignatius, after his conversion, he wanted to go off to the Holy Land. He traveled across Europe and across the sea to the Holy Land, and he lived a life of the effects of poverty. He wanted to do without things, live as simply as he could, begged every day, but that was not satisfying for him. That was not the grace that the Lord was calling him. Rather, when he was asked to leave Jerusalem, when he returned to Europe, a big insight came to him that he must study in order to better help other people. And that choice to study, to develop one's talents, and to share them talents, is, in a sense, a call to actual poverty. So Ignatius was really called to a poverty of companionship when he gathered people together, and as a poverty of service. So we see within the life of Ignatius the three distinct graces of poverty. Poverty of spiritual poverty, recognizing who God is, who we are, a sense of grace of actual poverty, of sharing one's life, companionship and service, one's goods, one's resources, then also the effects of poverty. Now, let me suggest that during this time of pandemic, We are called to live in poverty in many ways. We are impoverished. We have been um, called to recognize who God is in our lives. And so we're called to a deeper sense of spiritual poverty. Yet at the same time, we're called upon to give help to one another, be of service, be a good example, be a source of encouragement, and in our own way, to be a source of companionship by distance, by communication, or whatever. So those are different examples of how we approach poverty when we see that invitation to poverty in Scripture, or also in spiritual writings, or in our own prayer. So I hope this has been helpful to you in your own spiritual journey as you reflect upon how the Lord continues to call each of us to one or more of the graces of poverty. Thank you very much.